The wind cut across the plains like a blade, carrying dust and the smell of dry earth under the burning sun of the 1800s Wild West. At the edge of a struggling homestead, a young girl stood tied to a rough wooden fence, her wrists bound so tightly the rope had bitten into her skin. Her dress, once modest and clean, was torn and stained with dirt. Her head hung low, dark hair falling across a face marked by fear, exhaustion, and quiet shame. She had been standing there since dawn, left as though she were no more than a warning or a forgotten animal. Only months earlier, she had arrived as a bride, promised a new life and a place to belong. But death had come quickly to her husband, carried by fever and bad luck, and with him went her worth in the eyes of his family. They whispered that she was cursed, that she brought misfortune wherever she stepped. Feeding her was a waste, sheltering her a burden. So they dragged her outside, tied her to the fence near the open land, and told her to think about what she'd done. None of them planned to return before nightfall. The sun rose higher, beating down on her skin. Her legs trembled and her throat burned with thirst. Flies gathered, and every sound made her flinch. She prayed silently, not for revenge, but simply for someone to see her, to remember she was human. Then through the endless hush of the plains came the steady rhythm of hooves. A rancher rode alone across the land, following a fence line that marked the edge of his grazing territory. He was a man shaped by years of hard living, his face worn and serious, eyes sharp beneath the brim of his hat. He had seen cruelty before, seen men do terrible things in the name of survival. Still, when his gaze fell upon the girl bound to the fence, something inside him hardened. He reined in his horse and dismounted slowly. The girl lifted her head, fear flooding her eyes as she braced herself for more pain. Instead, she heard a calm, steady voice ask who had done this to her. Her lips trembled as she answered, telling him of her husband's death and the family that no longer wanted her. She spoke as if apologizing for existing. The rancher followed her gaze to the house nearby, where 3 men stood watching from the porch. Their expressions carried no guilt, only annoyance at being questioned. When one of them scoffed and claimed she was their responsibility, the rancher stepped closer to the fence. Without raising his voice, without reaching for his gun, he cut the ropes free. He wrapped his coat around her shoulders and helped her onto his horse. When one of the men shouted that she didn't belong to him, the rancher turned, his eyes cold and unyielding. He told them she was leaving with him, and that was the end of it. Something in his tone made them fall silent. The ride to the ranch felt endless, but the girl felt the knots inside her slowly loosen. The open land no longer seemed threatening. At the ranch, she was given water, warm food, and a place to rest by the fire. No one demanded anything from her. No one called her a curse. Days passed, then weeks. She learned how to care for the horses, how to mend clothes, how to laugh again without fear. The rancher watched as strength returned to her posture and light returned to her eyes. He never asked for repayment, never treated her like a burden. In the vast and unforgiving Wild West, kindness was rare, but it was also powerful. The fence where she had once been tied remained behind her, weathered and empty, a reminder of what she had escaped. Ahead of her lay open land, honest work, and something she had thought lost forever, a place where she truly belonged.